Hi Adrian, how you going today?
I'm keeping well, mate. How you going?
Doing good. Like I just said before, great to be back home with family and friends, getting some sun. How's your Christmas and New Year's been so far?
It's been fantastic, actually. I had some time off, went up to the Gold Coast in Queensland, got to see some sun, some beaches, some pool. It was just a nice way to recharge the batteries, ready for an impending wrestling tour.
Oh yes, we'll get back. We'll get there very, very shortly. But just how we met. It was very, very random. We met at a bar in Shanghai, of all
Yes,
places. So,
absolutely.
what were you doing there? Were you on a business trip? Was it just a vacation? What was happening there?
Sure. So I was there at that time for a big furniture fair. So it was in September, from memory. I'm in the furniture business. Is my main 9 to 5, and
Yes.
I was over there seeing some factories and visiting this big fair, sourcing some new products, and just seeing what trends were happening in the global furniture market space. So yeah, over there doing that, and by chance happened to hear about a local wrestling show that was taking place in Shanghai, and because I have loved wrestling for many years, and I've never seen any wrestling in Shanghai before. I thought, you know what, let's go check it out.
And was it a good trip?
I discovered some new products,
Products, right?
just some new fabrics on lounges and things like that, which are coming into the market. So yeah, on the furniture side was very successful. All trips always are. You always learn something and pick up something. So yeah, definitely a good time was had.
And what did you think of the show there in Shanghai?
You know what? I had really no expectation. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what the venue was
Yeah.
going to be like, the crowd size, their interactivity. You know what they're if they'd be noisy and rowdy or whatever. But I loved it. I actually thought it was a really good show, very well put together, good mix of wrestlers from around the region. Yeah, just some just good matches. The production levels I thought were excellent.
Mm.
And the crowd were just a good mix of people, all different ages, different ethnicities, and yeah, they really got into it. They sort of popped for everything, which was
That's
great
right.
to be part of. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
One of my friends went for the first time, and he said, "I'm hooked on this independent stuff. I don't like watching the WWE. It's too commercial. I love the independent. They're so much more passionate." What did you think of China? Was that the first time you've been there, or have you been there a few
Oh,
times?
no. I've been to China, I don't know, maybe like 50 times, maybe more.
All right. Okay.
But,
So what
but
was
yeah,
your first experience like?
my first experience was I was in Hong Kong, and we went across the border to the Guangzhou Shenzhen area, and Shenzhen wasn't even Shenzhen; it was just a tiny little town.
Yeah,
And
right.
Guangzhou was called Canton, and the population was 6 million. Now it's like 26 million, and
Yes.
there was
Yes.
8 million bikes. So it was more bikes than people. And I never
Wow.
forget the border from Hong Kong to China. There's a river there, and there were army soldiers or whatever standing there, or military standing there with guns. And they were told if they saw anything swimming in the ocean between Hong Kong and China to shoot. So that was my very first experience
Oh,
as a young Adrian. But yeah, and I used to go about 4 or 5 times a year pre-COVID, and then post-COVID, life's changed a little bit. So I'm probably over there maybe twice a year now. I'm just
right.
planning a trip for March, actually, as we speak. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah, but I always enjoy it. I've sort of been to a lot of the different major cities, and people are always lovely, and there's some really nice restaurants over there, and yeah, it's great doing business with them. So yeah, I've
Yeah,
enjoyed
that's
it.
great. And just a little review for 2024. What are
Yeah.
some of the highlights there for you personally and professionally?
Some highlights. Wow, it seems like so long ago now. The the World Series Wrestling Tour I I ran, which was sort of end of June, beginning of July. That was a huge success. It was very well received. All the shows were sold out. It was headlined by Nick Nemeth, formerly Dolph Ziggler in the WWE,
Yeah.
and Matt Cardona, our reigning champion at the time. He was injured, so he had to come back, and we had to come up with a way to have him defend the title every night, but not actually wrestle. So we had to work through that. But yeah, as I said, so the two great success, and just working with some fresh new talents. Like we had Elias, or Elijah as he's known now, and
yes,
yeah, we had Nemeth, and we had Ash by Elegance, who used to be Dana Brooke. So we had a few new faces that hadn't toured before. So it was great to get them out here. They had a positive experience. So
and I saw a video of you actually getting in there, getting the pin, the 1, 2, 3 pin.
yes. Oh, yes, that's right. Yep. Yeah, I've done a couple little run-ins, or little, getting involved. That particular match there was, I think, the tour before that. Yeah, I gave the bad guy a super kick, and I also leapt off the ropes, took him out. So a lot of fun. I tried to I get involved only sporadically, if and when the storyline requires it. But yeah, no, that was definitely that was probably my major highlight of 2024.
You training for these moves, or it looked very natural?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's very lastminute.com. It's like a couple of minutes before they go out. Hey, Adrian, do you want to come out and do this, this, and this? Sure. Or not really.
Why not? That's awesome. Because I remember when we were talking in Shanghai that with me being in Newcastle, you said that you've been here a couple of times, and you're talking to me about the first time that the WSW come to Newcastle. Can you give me a little story?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was back in 2005. So
that's a long time ago. 20 years ago.
Time ago. Actually was 20 years ago. Yeah, it was a good show, very good show. It was at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. We had Jeff Jarrett on the show. We had the Dudley Boys, Rhino, and AJ Styles wrestled Christopher Daniels, and then that turned into
what a lineup.
That turned into a mixed tag with AJ Styles teaming with Gail Kim, taking on Christopher Daniels and Nydia. And that was the first time they'd ever wrestled in a mixed tag match. Yeah, that was actually a really good show. And I just remember all the wrestlers were staying at the Star Casino in Sydney. So we did the Sydney show the night before, and all the wrestlers loved staying there. They said, how far is Newcastle? After the Newcastle show, can we come back to Sydney? And I said, no, we're all booked in. And they just opened an Ibis hotel there. So I remember that was sort of the only major accommodation that they had back then. And I know now Newcastle's a booming big city, but obviously 20 years ago it was still a nice size, but not like it is now. And yeah, we stayed there. And I remember there was no local bars or clubs open afterwards. So all the rest of roaming the streets, into convenience stores and, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was fun. We had a good time.
Wow! Times have changed, and so you got to come back and visit sometime. Yeah,
we get lots of requests to come back, so maybe one day we'll make the trip.
I don't see Newcastle on this year's lineup.
No, you know what it is? I'd love to, but there's a few different factors. So when I organise these tours, because there's so much international talent. There's 12 or 13 people from overseas. They've only got a limited amount of time that they can come, and also too, it's a massive risk every tour we do financially. So we can definitely do a show in Newcastle, but if the venue has to be right and it has to fit, the image that we're trying to present. And some venues are just way too big, others are too small. Yeah. Some aren't available on the nights that we need them to be to tie in with Brisbane and Sydney and Melbourne and Adelaide. So there's often a few different factors in choosing the different cities.
And speaking of rescheduling, I do notice that Adelaide for this year has been changed venues, right?
That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what a clash with the AFL or something? Is that true?
Yeah. So what happened was I was heading to New Zealand with my wife for our wedding anniversary to go see Coldplay, and I was in the Melbourne airport, and my phone rang, and it was Adelaide Oval, and they'd said to me, Oh, hi, Adrian. Just letting you know the AFL fixtures have come out, and unfortunately, we can't host your event anymore. We can maybe do some other, different days. I'd love to have you, but just that day, the Adelaide Crows are playing. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God.
Oh,
So
no.
time was spinning. Could I change another city's date and this and that? Anyway, after a lot of hunting and negotiating, we were able to find another venue still in the city, which is great. The Adelaide Showgrounds. It's actually going to be a bigger space. We can fit more people in there. I think it'll actually be better for wrestling. The same production, same entrance screens, and all that will all be set up. So yeah, should be good. So thank goodness it all worked out well.
That's great. And yeah, just got here. It's saying that most of them are almost sold out, and 4 consecutive dates in a row: Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, and Sydney, right?
Yes, yeah. Yep. Sydney, there's literally, as of yesterday, there was 1 ticket left. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Sydney's basically all gone. Yeah, Melbourne's nearly done as well. There's only maybe a couple of dozen tickets left. Adelaide, because it's a bigger venue now, we've still got some seats left, but we've sold a huge amount already, which we're really happy with. And Brisbane's completely sold out, but we do have the upstairs mezzanine standing still available. So yeah, all shows are very well received. We're still a couple of months away, so generally by showtime, we haven't announced any matches or anything like that yet. We're still announcing the local talent that'll be performing on the events as well. So
Okay.
Yeah, still lots to do.
So how are you doing that? And that must be some pretty hardcore fans already buying the ticket without even knowing who's wrestling, or they know who's wrestling, but no matches. But so
Yeah.
is there a strategy behind that, or
not necessarily? Like historically, we often don't announce matches at all. We might announce maybe one per city, just give them an entree serve, so to speak. Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. One, I like to keep things as a surprise. So just when the fans rock up, there's no preconceived ideas. There might be hope. I wish I see such and such versus such and such, but I just like them just to really embrace the whole experience, and whatever match gets announced next, oh wow, that's and they just get caught up in it. So that's number one. And number two, another sort of reason is so much happens behind the scenes. It's such a there's so many moving parts that often when you announce too many matches, if there's a change to one of them, fans sort of think, oh, why didn't that match happen? They said that such and such was wrestling, such and such. So just, touch wood, but every tour there's an injury or something happens, and all of a sudden, like, I can wrestle, but like I can't wrestle in a singles match, okay, well, look, what can we do? And you try to make sense with other matches, and then you might come up with one idea, and then you might think, oh, I've already announced that match, so I don't want to upset fans because they're probably looking forward to seeing this particular match, so we have to leave that alone. So then you're just trying to work with a couple of different wrestlers that matches haven't been announced. So we always find it better to keep it all up the sleeve.
Right. It makes sense. Yeah. Making sure that you're covering all bases. That's great. And I've got a little stat down here, and tell me if it's true, but you've had 19 consecutive sellouts in Melbourne. So you want to make sure that that's the 20th.
Yes.
This year, right?
We're only a handful of tickets away. Yeah. Melbourne's been a great success. We used to run a smaller venue and run like back-to-back nights, and now we've been able to secure a bigger venue. It sells out very well. This one's is right in the city. Again, very convenient for people. Great venue. And as I said, Melbournians seem to get out and support all sports, and there's a really big wrestling following in Melbourne. So we're lucky to have a piece of that, and they seem to enjoy what we do. So we love coming back to give it to them.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about the wrestling in Australia. I mean, I know when my grandfather was alive, wrestling was still very, very popular here in Australia. Not so much when I was growing up, but now it seems like it's thriving again. What is the Australian wrestling scene like?
Yeah, it's very interesting what you say. So yeah, I agree. Back in the day, the 1970s, wrestling was very popular. It was on TV, and there's all those names that everybody remembers.
Killer
And then
Kowalski and
Mario
yeah,
Milano and
Mario Milan.
all those guys. Yep, that was
Yeah.
before my time, but I definitely, I know the era. And then it just lost its TV presence and subsequently sort of disappeared and just became a memory. And then the WWF started airing on TV over here, and that's sort of when I became a big fan of it. Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and all those different characters. So that was my passion. I loved, it was on every Thursday night, Superstars of Wrestling. My dad would tape it and I'd watch it before I'd go to school the next day. And
Me too.
yeah, and I loved it, and I used to buy the big rubber wrestling figures and, the magazines and everything, and then it sort of just disappeared. It wasn't on TV anymore, couldn't find it. And to go to the video store and rent a video was like, the best you could get. I would get a wrestling magazine from the news agency, but it was like 3 months behind, but you'd still take them all, and the figures sort of just disappeared. Anyway, it disappeared for a long, long time. I still kept my finger on the pulse, really enjoyed it. But there wasn't really a lot around, and then in 1999, when I was at university, I sort of thought to myself, surely I'm not the only wrestling fan out there. There's got to be other wrestling fans that have been deprived like I have, and I had found on the internet, and the internet was only in its early stages, there was some local wrestling in Melbourne. There was a little bit happening in Sydney and a little bit here in Adelaide. So I sort of reached out to a few people and ended up putting on a show called Wrestle Rage at a place called the Thebarton Theatre in Adelaide. Nice. And wrestling had become very popular in America. So that was the whole Stone Cold era and all that kind of stuff back in 99. The Rock and NWO and all the rest of it. And it just started airing on TV again. So I ran this local show and it did really well. We basically sold out the Thebarton Theatre, which held, I don't know, like 1,200 people or something. And then I did a few more while I was at uni, and then I sort of stopped. And so I'd finished uni and started working. I thought, I can't do this anymore. It was just a bit of fun, And then in 2005, a few years later, I was in New York on my honeymoon, and I happened to bump into a female wrestler in the New York airport, Christy Hemme, her name was. And my wife sort of said, oh, she's a wrestler, whatever. She had like a WWE envelope. Went over and said hello. We had a photo together. And I thought, you know what, that's a sign. I've got to get back into wrestling. So then I did that tour in 2005, I mentioned earlier, where we did Melbourne and Sydney and Newcastle. And and then that was, from a show perspective, was excellent, especially for the time. It mixed a lot of WWE guys, a lot of TNA guys who were just was really starting to break through then. Some Ring of Honor people. We had people like Samoa Joe, who was just starting to have a name for himself. And I mentioned AJ Styles and all those guys before. We had Test, and he passed away only a year or two later. But we had a lot of different characters. And as I said, the shows were a great success, but unfortunately the WWE toured earlier in the year, and they also then decided to come later in the year when they heard about my tour. Yes, they toured 3 weeks after ours, and it sort of just kiboshed ticket sales. So what was looking like me making a fortune ended up me losing a lot of money. So that sort of left a sour taste in my mouth for a couple of years. And then I did it again for a couple of years, and I stopped, and I started running the furniture business. And then I got back into it in 2017, and I've been sort of running shows ever since. But I completely didn't even answer your question. What's the scene like here in Adelaide? Australia. Yeah, so I sort of started running these sort of shows back in '99, and it was definitely small promotions running events in different cities. And then I sort of stepped away for a long time, and I came back in 2017. And when I came back in 2017, there was a lot of great promotions around. So here in Adelaide, the main promotion here is called Riot City Wrestling, and I got to know a few of the guys that ran it. And they run a really great ship, and they've had a couple of great exports out of here. most famous being Rhea Ripley. She was trained here
Ripley.
locally. Yep. And now Delta, who's going by the name Zari, who just got signed with NXT. So yeah, they do a really great job. And then in Melbourne, there was a couple of really strong promotions, in particular Melbourne City Wrestling do a phenomenal job over there. And then in Sydney is PWA, and we sort of work with all these people with our shows. PWA do a great job. They've also had, so many superstars come out of their training centre. Robbie Eagles, who's still very active in New Japan and all that. Then you got Grayson Waller in the WWE, and a few others, the Iconics. And
I interviewed Andy Raymond a couple of years ago as well, and I remember he did a few shows in Sydney, and it was on Fox Sports for a little time, but that disappeared as well.
Yeah, he did an Australian Super Show. I remember that.
That's the one.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to vaguely remember. Yeah, it was an Australian Super Show. I couldn't tell you any of the matches, but it did air on Foxtel, which is the cable platform here in Australia. And and I think he was he did commentary or something, or ring announcing for Foxtel at the time. So yeah, but sadly didn't eventuate to anything.
Yeah, and talking about WSW, I noticed AEW star Brian Cage. He has been put into your first athlete to be put into the Hall of Fame. What does that mean to you? That's a prestigious award.
Yeah, you know what it is. So when we came back in 2017, we booked different talent, Ricochet and Austin Aries and Zack Sabre Jr. and all these different people. And I'd only seen glimpses of Brian's work, but just because of his size and his uniqueness, I thought, you know what, I have to have him on the tour, And so I was going back and forth with him, and he was like very keen to come. He said, "Oh, it was my dream to come to Australia, but I'm already booked." And our show was 4 bookings because we're obviously doing the different cities. And he had just like one date that was a booking. He goes, I feel really bad because I had to cancel on this guy once before. And I just wrote because we're just going back and forth, like texting each other. So I just sort of sent him this message saying, just say to the promoter that you're really sorry, but you were already booked on this Australian tour. And we had to change the dates because of the visa and something or other. And he sort of came back, oh, that's perfect. I was going to copy and paste that and send it to him now. He said, oh, okay, I'm in. So anyway, long story short, he did the tour. And a lot of people didn't know who he was or hadn't, seen a lot of his work. But when they saw him in person, it was like, oh, wow, he was definitely a memorable, person. So, and he's such a lovely guy. So fans love meeting him. His matches were so unique. So he sort of became the cornerstone of what we built the promotion around moving forward. So he did every tour. He was the longest reigning tag team champion. He held the world title just for a day. He's done a lot. And not only from the wrestling side of things, but we talk every couple of days. And, I've caught up with him in America. His wife's come over. She did a ring announcing for tours. Yeah. I was the first to find out about his wife being pregnant with their second child. But
that's amazing.
They just found out. He got on the plane, landed in Australia. I met him at the airport. He told me. But so we've become very good friends. And as I said, he does a lot. He's such a big advocate for what we do. So even in the United States, people go to him now and say, oh, how do I get on the World Series wrestling shows? Or if I'm looking for someone in particular, send a message and say, oh, look, I really, recommend these shows. You'd want to be a part of it, and everyone always thanks him afterwards saying, thanks for hooking me up because I had a great time. So he's been definitely a big ambassador for World Series wrestling. So who better than Brian Cage to be our first Hall of Fame inductee?
Absolutely. And you're going to do one again this year, or is it yet to be?
It's not like it's not going to be an annual thing or every tour thing. It's just when the moment seems right. So there's a few candidates in my mind for the next one. And we may do something this coming tour, but if not, I feel like the next tour might be the next time to do something.
All right, that's great. Looking forward to it. So, just getting back back into your early in your life. So you're born in South Australia,
Yeah, born and bred in Adelaide. Yes.
Adelaide. Yep.
Yep.
And was it your father that had the
The furniture business.
furniture business?
So what happened was my father and my dad had been in business his whole life. He'd done all different things, ran different businesses. He was in the liquor industry for like a long, long time. And he was in gourmet food for a long time. And then he got to 60 years old and had sort of sold whatever. So he could have retired a couple of times just with different businesses. And he got to 60 and I was sort of working in marketing at the time. I'd finished uni and I was a marketing manager for an agricultural company. And he sort of said, oh, we should do something together. So we had a few different ideas of what we're going to do. And then long story short, he met another father and son who had like a furniture store, like a rug and mattress kind of a warehouse joint. And they were looking for a partner. So basically my dad bought half the business. So him and I ended up sort of being these two dads and two sons. And then we sort of grew the business from there. And then back in about 2018, I think it was, we bought them out of the business. And then we're able to sort of evolve the brand and do what we're doing with it now. Yeah,
Haggle Co. Yeah. Where did you get the name from? Is that the original name or is it?
No, it was called the Rug and Mattress Warehouse originally. The name Haggle Co came from because our advertising at the time in Adelaide, actually in Australia in general, there's just so many immigrants coming in, and the whole idea of them being used to haggling or bartering or negotiating over price was such a big thing in many cultures. So we sort of clamped onto that, and in a lot of our ads would sort of promote the idea of come in and haggle, and it sort of seemed to take off. Yeah. So we sort of made people aware that they could the price was sort of a little bit negotiable, and obviously some people cringed at the idea and others embraced it, and and now it's just become a name.
It's a chain.
Yeah.
It's a chain. I read that you've got shops not only in Adelaide but also in Melbourne as well.
Victoria,
and statistics might be incorrect, but 70 full-time staff. So that's incredible. And then you're the face of these videos or ads. You've done so many. But I also read that your dad used to do ads as well. Is that true?
No. So I am the face. That's okay. I am the face, and we do lots of creative, funny, silly, whatever ads we use to describe them ads. They're designed to get attention and cut through. Actually, the ads have appeared on. There's this TV show in Australia called The Grew and Transfer on Channel 2. And some comedians and advertising, aficionados talk about different ads and whatever, and ours have appeared on there quite a few times, which is great. But no, he's never appeared on them. But my old business partner, he used to be the face of the ads for many years. Yeah. And then when we bought him out, the ad agency actually said, "Oh, look, what we'd like to do with the ads. Would you like to be on them?" So I said, yeah, I'm happy to. Let me check with the family, and everyone was happy for me to do it. So, we're just sort of taking the bull by the horns, and away we've gone.
What's been your favourite? I personally like the Wiggles one. I thought the Wiggles one was very entertaining.
Yeah. Absolutely. That was a fun one. There was a Seinfeld one we did that I really enjoyed.
Right. I didn't see that one.
Then a couple others that we've done, which I thought were great, were we created a boy band called the HC Boys, and we're five different. I'm five different characters, and we got a lead singer of a band here in Adelaide called the New Romantics. He came and sung the jingle, and my videographer wrote the jingle, and and he was so talented. He was able to sing it in five different pitches or tone or whatever for each of the different characters. So. That was a good ad. I like that one.
That's really cool. That's awesome. And this also started up the Manera group as well. and you've
Oh,
got some business. Yeah. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. We do a few different things. So up until recently, we had a yoga and Pilates studio. We just sold that business off a couple of
Yes.
months ago.
Oh,
but
right.
but the main things are definitely the furniture and the wrestling. We also do some media as well, so we can sort of make content for people and things like that. So they're the main sort of areas that we spread our wings.
Okay. And you're still doing the ergonomic chairs as well, gaming chairs.
You know what we did for a few years, the villain gaming chairs. Yeah. So they were a big hit, especially during the COVID times. But that sort of demand we found sort of died off maybe about 12 months ago or so. So we've just sort of wound that brand down, so to speak. But yeah, no, we definitely had a good run with the gaming chairs for sure. We got in at the right time and got out at the right time.
That's great. So just going back, you did marketing at the University of Adelaide, right?
I did. Yes, no. So I did a Bachelor of Arts majoring in psychology
Bachelor of Arts.
and then I did a Bachelor of Management majoring in marketing at University of South Australia, City West campus.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. So how has marketing changed from then to now?
Drastically, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're still promoting a product at a price and all those kinds of things, but there's just so many ways to market. So back in the old days, 20 years ago, TV was a big one, the newspaper was a big one, catalogs was a big one, the radio, billboards. But now there's so many ways that people have to, the way they consume things. So really, we just try to be where people's eyeballs are. So if it's on TV, that's where we need to be. If it's on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever, we try to be there. So the wrestling has got its own demographics, and then furniture's it's another thing. The interesting thing is you put a wrestling post out or a reel out or something or a YouTube video, and it gets tens of thousands of views or 100,000 views or 1 million views. So many likes, shares, this and that, because wrestling's obviously something that people care about. You put a furniture video out, 70 views, 15 views, 500 views. Like it's just so much effort goes into it, but yeah, it's quite a different audience for sure.
Yeah, right. And it looks like your Adelaide is the place for you, right? So for people who don't know too much about Adelaide, why have you decided to live in Adelaide?
Well, just because of family, really. I've always been here. I don't know anything different. I've traveled to so many places. I've been very fortunate, seen a lot of amazing cities. And in my mind, I thought, I could live here. I could live there. But just because my parents are here, my family, it's a great city to raise a family. It's pretty safe. It's convenient. We have great food, great wines, great beaches, great hills. So it's a very livable city. So I can't see me, leaving anytime soon, but maybe in 10 years' time or something, as I get a little older, I wouldn't mind maybe spreading my wings a little bit and maybe sort of living 3 months in New York or 3 months in Rome or month in LA or something, and then come back, or just to sort of live like a New Yorker, live like a, whatever.
Because I also see that you're avid supporters of the basketball team, the 36ers, and the soccer team.
Oh, no, not soccer, just the 36ers. So,
this is the 36ers, right? Okay.
Yeah, the Adelaide 36ers. So they're the franchise here in Adelaide for the NBL. Yeah, big fans of them. We support them as best we can. We're one of their sponsors, and Yeah. So we love to get to their games and support them. And obviously, if we're traveling to the US or whatever, we'd love to go check out a Lakers game or whatever, and some sort of NBA game. It's always fun.
Actually, I saw you Oklahoma, And
Yes.
you got to meet Josh Giddey?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
My son's a big basketball head. He loves it. Yeah, so we're fortunate enough to head to America, and we got to see a few games, and we ended up going to Oklahoma and meeting Josh, and had some dinner with him and all sorts of things.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, we had a great experience. Yeah.
Is he also South Australian as well? Oh, I don't know.
He's from Melbourne, but he did play in Adelaide for one season. But yeah, his agent organised like a tour, so it wasn't by chance that we just happened to bump into him and have a photo. It was sort of pre-organised. He was going to come and have photos with us and have a drink and whatever, and then and we got to meet a few other different players along the way. But it was definitely a fun time away.
That's great. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
If you're going to do something, do it properly, or don't even waste your time.
Ah, very good, very good. If you were able to go back in time and visit a 13 or 14-year-old Adrian, what advice would you give to him?
Oh my God. Maybe travel a bit more before you start your life's journey.
Got it. Social medias, Adrian. Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram, just my name, Adrian Manera. I'm on Facebook, the same. They're the main two. I'm not hugely active on either, but I'm there. If anyone wants to send a message or whatever, I'll see it on Instagram, not so much Facebook. I'm not there very often.
Great. All right, so we're down to the final bit. Okay, so the first one is music. Give me your top 2 or 3 favorite bands of all time.
Wow. Okay. My favorite one really would be currently Coldplay, and then I don't know, I like a lot of 80s bands. I don't know. I don't know if I'm a huge bands person, but I like EDM music. So I love like Calvin Harris. I love David Guetta. I like Don Dollar at the moment. So nice. I'm into that. I like that kind of music. So not so much a band per se, but yeah, that's the kind of my go-to artists.
What was the first album that you bought with your own money?
Oh my God, I honestly couldn't even tell you. I could tell you my first wrestling video. I was more passionate about wrestling than music.
Oh yeah, okay.
Probably would have been. I probably copied them on VHS more so than actually bought them. But I remember like SummerSlam '88 being one, and I was very excited when I was in Hong Kong as a kid. I was able to get the whole WrestleMania anthology, WrestleMania 1 through 10 on DVD. So that was a big highlight for me as a young teenager.
A collector's item right there. What is your Mount Rushmore of wrestling superstars?
Oh, okay. I feel like it depends how you define it. Like I think I've got my favorites, but I think as far as people that actually influenced generations and whatever, I don't know, but prior to Hulk Hogan, like there's Bruno Sammartino and all those kind of people. But as far as like my life on Earth, definitely Hulk Hogan. I think he is well and truly there. I think Stone Cold. I think The Rock, just for what he's done, transcends wrestling. Those three in particular. John Cena, for him doing so much over the last 15 years. And also, too, they were like the faces of WWE, if you know what I mean. Whether they're greatest wrestlers or, you know what I mean, depends how you define wrestling. But they were the draws. They were, to me, the 4 biggest draws. And now you've got, Roman Reigns. As far as my favorite wrestlers, Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time. Loved him to death.
Yeah, right.
At the moment, I think Seth Rollins is probably the best out there. Chad Gable is probably makes everyone look like $1 million. So there's so many great.
He's ready. Is he ready for a push, Chad Gable?
I would think so. He's on TV every week, so maybe that is a push. I don't know. But
yes.
Yeah. So I think again, it depends how you define it, and it's such a topical question. And you ask someone else, and they'll come back with Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I can understand as well.
Randy Savage, Andre the Giant. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. And what's one Australian, up-and-coming Australian wrestler that we all should be looking out for?
Ooh, okay. I remember the last time I got asked this question, my answer was Matt Wahlberg, who's now Grayson Waller. You know who I actually think I'm going to put over actually there's two. I'm going to put over, they're both on our World Series Wrestling tour coming up. The Pariah, who are our current tag team champions, they've just relocated to the United States. So I wish them every success. Hopefully they get picked up. But one who I'm surprised hasn't been picked up yet is a female star that we've been featuring on our last few tours. She's legitimately 6 foot tall. Her name is Lena Cross. I feel like she's ready to be signed at any given moment. So that'd be my couple of current picks.
All right. And what was the first wrestling event that you went to?
The first wrestling event I went to was in 1988, I think it was, and it was at the Apollo Stadium here in Adelaide, and the WWF toured, and it was headlined with Brutus Beefcake against Junkyard Dog, and Greg the Hammer Valentine took on Hillbilly Jim. So that was
so cool.
That. Yes. So that was
I don't know if that was the same tour that I saw when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. It was the one that Andre the Giant was on. Well, that's all I can remember. Okay, I can only remember Andre the Giant. It was at the Broadmeadow Basketball Stadium in Newcastle. I must have been maybe 4 or 5 years old. That's all I can remember.
Well, it would have been the same era because there was a tour that was supposed to come to Adelaide shortly after this one, headlined by Andre the Giant and Tito Santana, but then it got cancelled. Happened. So maybe they did the other states and they never came to Adelaide. But yeah, I didn't get to go to that one. So I do remember that. And then I saw some like local wrestling around that sort of time, a couple of little shows. And then I hadn't seen wrestling again until about 1993. And there was a promoter who brought out a tour called Wrestle Riot, which was headlined by Jake the Snake Roberts, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and Chris Benoit was on that show with the Malenko brothers. Yeah, and a couple of and Jushin Thunder Liger. So they put on some great matches. Yeah, and then they returned 6 months later with another tour, and then they disappeared after that. Yeah. Oh. But that was sort of the only real wrestling I'd ever sort of seen. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 favorite food cuisines?
Well, you know what? My go-to is Italian. I'm Italian background, so I love a good pasta. I love a good salad, a good soup. So definitely Italian. I love Japanese food. It's so clean and delicious. And you know what? I love all Asian food. I love Vietnamese. I like Thai. I like Chinese food. Yeah, so I'm more that. Indian can be a little bit heavy and spicy for me.
Yes.
Some Greek food's amazing. I love all the seafood, you know, all the grilled octopus and all the rest of it. But yeah.
All right. And I also read that your favorite food is also chicken nuggets. Is that true?
Oh, I do have yes, I don't mind 6 nuggets with sweet and sour sauce from KFC.
Yep. Your 2 or 3 top favorite places you've been to, and then 2 or 3 that you want to go to in the future.
Okay. There's been so many great places. Like I've had a great time in New York, Las Vegas, and LA. You know, I have a great time anywhere I go if I'm with the people that I love being with. So I can be anywhere and have a great time. But I've loved Shanghai as a city. I think that's amazing. Dubai is amazing. The history in Rome and Venice. Like there's so many beautiful places for so many different reasons, you know. I'm looking forward to going to Paris. I've never been to Paris. Looking forward to going to London. I've never been there. And you know what? I'd love to go to like Nashville, Tennessee, or something like that.
Oh, nice.
One of those places. I've been to Tokyo before, which was also great. We're blessed with a amazing world with lots of amazing things to sightsee and cuisines to consume. So yeah.
Very cool. Last one. Adrian,
Yes.
who's your greatest inspiration or hero and why?
That would be my dad. I don't know, he just had such a big influence on my life. So we're a very close family, and growing up, he was always working, so I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him. One thing that kept us together was wrestling, as funny as it seemed. So he would tape the wrestling when he would get home from one of his stores on a Thursday night, and I'd watch in the morning. But yeah, we'd often sort of watch wrestling or WrestleManias together. He used to enjoy that, and I think he used to enjoy
Exactly
coming
the same.
to my shows.
Exactly the same, Adrian. My dad would do exactly the same. He'd tape the wrestling, and I'd get up at like 6 a.m. so I could watch it before I go to school. And
Superstars. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because it's on like 10:30 at night or whatever. So, yeah, definitely. And then just to what he achieved in his life. So he came from Italy with nothing, and he was able to build up. He's become a very respected, businessman and person here in Adelaide. So, he's definitely been the most influential person in my life for sure. So everything I do, I just never want to disappoint him. So yeah, and he passed away only a couple of months ago, so it's still very, very raw in my. Yeah, but
Congratulations to that.
But no, I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, so but he's definitely the one, and hopefully I can be the same influence to my children as well.
And you got two kids?
Three. So I've
Three.
got a son who's 15, a daughter 12, and a little 5-year-old Andre, after Andre the Giant. So.
Oh, nice. And I'm sure, are they wrestling fans as well? But are they followed in Dad's footsteps?
Off and on. My son went through a phase where he was into it. That's what made me get back into promoting, because he wrestles AJ Styles. And I said, oh my God, he wrestled for Dad. And I don't know if he really even understood what that meant. So I started to do the show again because of him. But my daughter, actually, she quite enjoys watching it with me. She loves meeting whatever female wrestlers we've got on the shows. She loves having photos with them and stuff. And the little one, I think he's a bit scared of it. He thinks that's for the for adults. So he has to like to watch.
Adrian, on that note, Adrian, thank you very much for your time. All the best for this year and for the tour. What I like about it is that you're doing things that make yourself happy, and you're making a lot of other people happy as well. So all the best for the year, new year.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
No worries.